I think that went live. Did it go live? Do, 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 do. Too many screens. I love it. Let's see. How's everybody doing? Let's see. Way too many screens. We have a chiropractor coming out tonight to work on the sheep. That's kind of cool. So we're live on YouTube. It says it. Hey, good morning, everybody. All right. So now where did my other screen go? This is fascinating. When your computer decides to do some reboots in the middle of stuff. There it is. Okay. So today, we're having a conversation about the 60-second hook. 9 episodes in, and you've got content strategy, the 3 types, awareness, authority, and action. The ratio, right? We talked about the ratio, 50, 20, and the rest, right? You got a 30-day plan. There's just one little problem. None of it works if nobody stops to read it, right? So how do we stop the scroll? That's the question. How do we stop the scroll? Episode 10, we're writing the hook in under 60 seconds because the hook is the only part of your content most people will ever see. Think about that for a second. All of this time and effort we put into material, into facts, into conversations, and we do not know the hook, right? We don't ever really study the hook. We don't understand the psychology of the hook. We hear about it, we talk about it, right? As somebody mentioned yesterday, that people typically respond, more people will respond easily and effortlessly to a negative post than they will to a positive post. Why? Because they're wired that way. Because you spoke the exact, this is the part I want to get across. You spoke the exact language that they want, that they were looking for. And that made them want to interact with you. Does that make sense? That's the key part to understand here, is that when you post something and you get feedback, even if it's not what you typically like in the feedback, that, ladies and gentlemen, is a clue to who your audience really is. I need you to hear that. So if you're like, well, man, I get so many more posts when I post about horses. When I post about the baby lambs, I get a lot of, I got a $7 check from Meta. $7, because a lot of people watched a lot of the little lamb videos. I don't necessarily want my content videos on my brain training and my self-talk and my accountability. They like the stuff on the lambs, and they'll interact. Why? Because it's easy. Why? Because they're wired that way. Think about the posts that you put out. Think about the conversations that trigger the most amount of activity on your page. That, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly who your audience is. And you spoke directly to what it is they want. Does that make sense? Okay, let me get the slides up here. Kind of cool stuff. So, episode 10 slides. There we go. So much fun. We're back over here on this slide, on that page, and share screens. Can you imagine all of this stuff? There you go. So there's just so in episode 10, we're going to write the hook in under 60 seconds because the hook is pretty much the only thing most of your people will see. So, what is a hook? Right? We all know what the hook is. It's the stop the scroll and create. Here's the important part. We can stop the scroll once they start to read. If it doesn't speak their language, right? If I saw a picture of a little puppy and I click stop and they were going to speak Gaelic, right? Which is the Irish language, which I don't speak. If they were going to speak Gaelic and they start do you think hard to heard it, right? Like the cook from the Muppets. If they started to speak like that, I'd keep going. If they were writing in Gaelic, I'd have to keep going. Why? Because I do not understand. It doesn't trigger me what I read. This is how important Mark Twain's statement is. The difference between the right word and the almost right word is the difference between lightning and a lightning bug. So most people think that the hook is a clever opening line, something witty, something surprising, something that makes people think, oh, that's interesting. That's not what a hook is. A hook is an interruption, right? We talked about this. We trained on this before. We trained on the concept of novelty. When I sit down and have a conversation with somebody in a one-on-one, my hook is, how would you like to get started? Right? It's novelty. It interrupts the pattern. A hook is a pattern interrupt that creates an involuntary pause, followed immediately by a reason to keep reading. Those are two separate jobs. To interrupt, the interrupt stops the scroll. The reason keeps them there. If your opening line does the first job, you've created a speed bump. If your interrupt only does the first job, stop them, you've created a speed bump, not a hook. Here's the neuroscience. You know, I'm a brain trained elite brain trainer. Here's the neuroscience. The human brain is running on constant threat and relevance assessment, right? The brain does two things. Will it kill me, or how fast can I recognize a pattern? Period. That's it. That's all the brain does. That's all the brain does. And when you go, oh man, that makes sense. It only makes sense because it allows you to recognize that that content is important to a pattern that already exists in your life. Does that make sense? So what is the pattern that already exists in your prospect's life? You should know this from going to your listening map, right? Back in episodes 3 and 4, in the very beginning, 7 episodes ago, the listening map, learning the words. How do they describe their pain? Not how you eloquently describe their pain. How do they describe their pain? Not how you make them feel a little uncomfortable when you want to talk to them about growing their success. No, how do they talk about their uncomfortableness in wanting to grow their success? It is the exact words that they use. The human brain is running that constant, continuous threat and relevance assessment, and your avatar scrolls through their feed, their subconscious, right? As they scroll, as you scroll through your feed, your subconscious, their subconscious is evaluating every piece of content in milliseconds. Relevant, irrelevant, relevant, irrelevant, relevant, irrelevant. For me, or what's not for me? Worth my attention or not worth my attention? Oh, well, I don't really know that they're going through. Listen, the brain takes in 20 million bits of data every second. Oh, that's impossible. It's not. That's science. Now, what you're true in your statement is this: you are not aware of the 20 bits of where there's no, I don't know that we're not taking. No, You don't know it consciously. You're not aware of it. You know how much you're aware of consciously out of 20 million bits of data? Do you know how much you consciously are aware of? 20 to 40 bits of data, 40 on the max, 40 bits of data. And in those 40 bits of data, what do you think the brain's looking for? Oh, this is comfortable. Oh, that's not a problem. Oh, I can put myself into a stressful situation. Or is it looking to avoid all that crap? It's why when somebody, if you're at a restaurant and somebody drops a plate of glasses, a tray of dishes, and you jump a little bit, you only jump because in that millisecond of the jump, your brain recognized, oh, those are dishes falling, and that was a waiter, and we're all about to clap. Without your conscious awareness. So if the brain's doing all of that, constantly scrolling, a hook works when it triggers the RAS. Who remembers what the RAS is? The reticular activation system. By activating the RAS, it did it in such a way because the language that the subconscious has already flagged as relevant. It's already flagged it as relevant. That makes sense? And when your avatar reads the hook that uses the exact words they use internally to describe their situation, the RAS fires and says, pay attention. This is for you. That's not cleverness, that's precision. And precision comes from your research that you did, from your listening map, your phrase bank, and your copy framework. Everything you built in phase one, the first 5 sessions, phase one. And that was for this moment. Did you do the work? If not, go back and do it. Your hook is already in there. Today, we learn how to pull it out. Okay, so here's some examples. The hook in 5 formulas. Here we go. There are 5 simple hook formulas that constantly come. And here's when you recognize this, when we go through this, you'll start to see it everywhere. That's the neat thing. You'll start to see it everywhere. You're stuck. Oh, that's a hook. Oh, they're only a speed bump. The language they use, that's only the speed bump. The language they use didn't keep me there. Why isn't that doing well? Why is this one doing well? What's the language after the speed bump? So master these 5, only 5. You don't need to go learn 15 or 20, and you'll never stare at a blank first line again. So here's the formula number 1, painful truth, right? It says right there, formula 1, painful truth. State something about your avatar situation that they've been thinking about, but they haven't said aloud. So I might say something like, you don't have a consistency problem, you have a foundation problem. This formula works because recognition is instant. The pattern interrupt is the accuracy. Right? What is your one-liner? What is the pain they're in, and what is the solution you have for them? Here's number 2, specific formula. Numbers create pattern interruption in text-heavy feeds. They signal concrete, organized information. Why do you think most posts have 3 reasons your content isn't converting, and none of them are algorithm? What are the 3 reasons for you? Odd is best. The brain likes things finished. It doesn't like odd numbers. It likes things finished. It's why putting 3 pillows on a couch, or 3 things on a mantle, or 5 things on a mantle, always an odd number. The brain is drawn to it to look at it. So that was number 2, specific number. Number 3, bold claim. Bold claim. State something that contradicts conventional wisdom in your space, not for shock value, for purpose of marketing a genuine argument, for the purpose of making a genuine argument. your avatar suspects might be true. Consistency is overrated. Oh, well, I agree with that. Here's what actually builds an audience. Creates cognitive dissonance. The gap creates curiosity. One of the things I have an awful lot of success with are things called curiosity gaps. And it's stating two sentences that in the statement of the two sentences creates this large gap in their mind that they want filled in, that they need filled in, that the subconscious says, I want that covered. And they're called curiosity gaps. So that's a bold claim. Number 4, a relatable moment. Drop your avatar into a specific situation they've already lived. There's a moment most entrepreneurs hit around 6 months where they look at everything they've built and wonder if any of it is actually working. Just hearing that, I'm reading you a hook. Doesn't it sit somewhere in your system? Doesn't it trigger something viscerally in your system? Oh man, I know what that feels like. Right? This is the power of understanding your listening map, having done that work. This formula works because story, listen carefully, story bypasses fact, bypasses analytical mind. That's why we have that phrase, stories sell, facts tell. That's called the relatable moment. And number 5 formula is the direct address. Speak directly to your avatar using the language that identifies them so specifically they feel seen rather than targeted. If you've ever been on a webinar and after the introduction, they say, all right, we're getting ready to get started. Before we get started, let me let you know who this is for. Let me let you know who this is actually for. If you're somebody who, and they fill in the blank, and then they do the opposite. Let me let you know who this is not for. It's not for somebody who's looking for a quick fix. Well, I'd never look for a quick fix. I don't want a quick fix. I want to do the work, right? So they lead you in, and it's called polarize to magnetize. That's the marketing phrase, polarize to magnetize. You want to get them so I'm for you, and against that, you want them against the things that are holding them back, that you give them a direct address. This is for the, so here's the hook. This is for the person who is excellent at what they do and completely invisible online. Oof, that's me. This is for the person who is excellent at what they do and still completely invisible online. Specificity creates belonging. Not, I want to help everybody. Specificity creates belonging. The rich is in the niche. Specificity is in belonging. When somebody reads a direct address, excuse me, that describes them precisely, the feeling is not, this is for people like me. The feeling is, it is me. This is true. You want them to say you're right. Here's a little marketing secret. If you have people saying you're right, you've lost. Wait, what? This is a psychology tip. You want them to say, that's true. When you go through high-level negotiation training, that you're right, even though they may say it with love and care, you've lost. Because if you're right, what are they? They're wrong. You want your avatar, you want your audience to say, that's true. Think about it. You're right. I'm wrong. That's true. That means both of us can sit in a true place. So you don't, when they say, well, that's this is for people like me, they've probably said, you know what, you're right. You're right. I'm not consistent. You're right. I'm invisible online. If they're saying you're right, You feel cool. You're like, ah, see, I told you I was right. No, no, I'm sorry. The phrase you want is, that's true. This is for me. You want them to take ownership of it. So there you go. Here we go. 5-step process. Number 1, know your type. Know your type. Before you begin anything, decide whether this piece of content is what? One of the 3 things: awareness, authority, or action. Awareness content always starts with formula 1 or 4, pain or relatable. Authority often starts with formula 2 or 3, specific claim or a number. And action content always works best with formula 5, direct access, direct address. So right there, there's your formula, how to use all of this. It's all right there. Step 2, pull from your phrase bank. Your phrase bank. I'm going through puberty. Pull from your phrase bank. Open your copy framework document that you have. Go to your hook phrase section. These are the exact words your avatar uses. Pick one phrase and put it in front of one of the 5 formulas. You're not writing from scratch. You are assembling from research. This is why most struggle is they're not doing the work. I would implore you, I would beg you, I would urge you, I would wish you to do the work. Because if you do the work, it's real easy to assemble. Could you imagine you wanted to build, let's say you wanted to make somebody a birthday cake, just a simple box cake. Just literally a Duncan Hines, grab the box and do whatever it is you do. Crack some eggs, put some oil, whatever it is that goes in it. Now imagine you wanted to create the cake, and here's where most people are right now. They'll get in the car, go to the store, buy the box cake. They'll come home, they realize they don't have any eggs. Ugh, now I got to go get eggs. You go to the store and you get eggs. You come home, you realize you don't have milk. You go back to the store and you get milk. Then you come back home, you go, oh, I forgot the 2 tablespoons of oil. But if I don't, well, I'll just skip it. And you don't put in the 2 tablespoons of oil or whatever the little hidden ingredient is. And the cake sucks. That's your current marketing potentially. It's just a little thing that you're missing. If you haven't done the phrase work, I'm telling you, that's key. So here's step 3. Write 3 versions in 60 seconds. 60 seconds. Start the clock. 60 seconds. Don't judge. Don't edit. Write 3 hooks as fast as you can. 1 painful truth, 1 relatable moment, 1 direct access. This one makes you slightly uncomfortable. And the one that's most uncomfortable is usually the best one. So that's step 3. Step 4, the 1-sentence test. Read each hook out loud. Ask one question. If my avatar read only this sentence and nothing else, would they feel this is specially for them? If yes, you have a hook. If maybe, it needs something more specific. Generic hooks create generic audiences. Specific hooks create belonging. It's all right here. There's the formulas. Listen, I didn't create them. I'm simply teaching you what works in the brain. This isn't something I have a special secret. This is all psychology. This is all human nature. This is human design to get it to work. And step 5, attach the second line. The hook without the payoff is dead. And most of us are afraid to announce our payoff. Immediately after the hook, write the 1 sentence that delivers the first piece of value or deepens the intrigue. The hook stops the scroll. The second sentence justifies them stopping. Together, those 2 lines are the foundation of every piece of content. You write from this point forward. Here's the resistance. Here's the resistance. Here's the resistance. Here's the resistance. You're going to start wearing the perfectionism mask. You're going to start trying to perfect it, and you're going to crush your production by installing quality control at this point. But I don't want my content to feel formulated. I don't want it to feel strategic. I don't want it to feel like it's sterile out of a hospital box. The avatar doesn't appear your hook as formulaic. They experience it as relevant or irrelevant. Relevant or irrelevant. For them or not for them. The formula is invisible to your reader. It's only visible to you, the writer. I'll give you an example. We did a couple of negotiation training sessions on the morning call. And one of the things when you have somebody who's resisting or wanting to play hardball, how do you get them to talk more? How do you get them to explain more? How do you get them to keep talking? And the way you get them to keep talking is you repeat the last 2 or 3 words they just said. And everybody, when I was teaching you this, they were like, no, people are going to do that. I said, going to do that? Well, people are going to, and I was using it and everybody could hear it except the person who heard it. And they were in the negotiation training session. And I would keep doing it. Yeah, well, you know what I'm talking. And the brain doesn't hear the formula if it's relevant to them. That's what is so critical to understand about this. The greatest songwriters in history wrote a verse, chorus, verse structure. Yes or yes? The formula didn't make the songs less powerful. It focused the power. The hook formula does the same thing. The goal is not originality in structure. The goal is precision in language. It's not how to be super original. It's how do you become more precise with your language. And precision in language comes from knowing your avatar's exact words, their exact situation, their exact question. Not something maybe sort of kind of like it, the exact question. And feeding that all through a structure designed to stop the scroll. You built that knowledge in phase 1. Now we're using it. So when your hook uses the exact words your avatar uses internally, the RAS, the reticular activating system, fires and up belonging begins. When your reticular activation system says, oh, that's me, not that's for someone like me, that's me, the RAS fires up and you instantly create a level of belonging while they're reading your first sentence of conversation with them. They don't decide to keep reading. They feel pulled to read. And that pull is not manufactured. It's the result of months of listening that you've done, built into a single sentence. This is what all of phase 1 was building towards. The hook is where it lands. Does that make sense? So that was episode 10. What happens in episode 11? Where's the share screen? There it is. 11 is the organic posts that pre-sell. Because once you can write a hook that stops the scroll, we build the full post structure that moves somebody from who is curious to clicking on the next step, to give you your email address, to give you their phone number, to give you their time. That's what your stopping the scroll does. It gets somebody who's curious, stopped, and wants more. Today's work, take that one piece of your content from the 30-day plan, write 3 hooks, for using it, 3 different formulas. Specifically test each one. Choose the one that makes you slightly uncomfortable. Slightly uncomfortable. And I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for being a part of this. I'm your brain training, brain scrambling. Let's use your definite major purpose misfit for marketing. I'll see y'all where? At the next event.